City Council to order. Good evening and welcome. Tonight, as usual, we have Ryan Caith from KERM, KGOS, and this is being broadcast live on the radio and on YouTube. We also have Ms. Cindy Shealy here. She is from the Torrington Telegram. This is Tuesday, December 19th, 2023. This is the 24th council meeting of the year. Second one in December. I asked Councilman Kelly to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is the mayor's informational items. This is the last council meeting of the year of 2023. As such, I wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a very happy and prosperous New Year. Please note that city offices will be closed Monday, December 25th and Tuesday, December 26th. Please also note that city offices will be closed Monday, January 1st, 2024 for New Year's Day. Please enjoy our beautifully decorated downtown area and beautifully and creatively decorated neighborhoods. Finally, please patronize our numerous and varied local merchants and businesses. With the snowstorm season now upon us, please make sure you shovel your sidewalks soon after each snowfall. Again, if your driveway crosses your sidewalk, please take care to clear that area so that pedestrians are able to continue to walk safely on your sidewalks. As this is the traditional season for celebrating, please drink responsibly. Please do not drink and drive. Avoid a ticket for drinking and driving. As always, please drive carefully, please slow down, and please do not use your cell phones while driving. Again, a very Merry Christmas to all, and a happy and prosperous New Year. First item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda, which includes the minutes from the December 5th, 23 council meeting as published.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve the consent agenda.
I have a motion from Councilman Victorin to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Kelly. Any further discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of the consent agenda as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. The consent agenda is approved. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda itself. I would note that I would like a motion to amend the agenda as presented, very simply, to add to item number 11, a B under the A regarding the shop foreman pay benefits as a CDL holder.
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion to approve the agenda with the amendment that we added item 11B to include the shop foreman as a CDL benefit.
All right, I have a motion from Councilman Deal. Do I have a second?
Mr. Mayor, I'll second that.
I have a second from Councilman Patterson. Any further discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, I'll call for vote. All those in favor of Councilman Deal's motion to amend the agenda as presented to add item 11B regarding employment benefit for the shop foreman and regarding his CDL, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, that agenda as amended is approved. Next item on the agenda, and I always look to that black box in front of Councilman Victorin, which is empty tonight, for informational purposes. This is a time, it's called public forum, and if anybody wants to speak to the council during this section of the agenda, they can fill out a brief form, place it in there, and you will be put on there. This is for non-agenda items, and there is a time limit of 2 minutes, and the speaker must sign up before the meeting. This is a time for the council to listen. No action will be taken. So that's for informational purposes. Next item on the agenda is David Dent is back there behind Mr. Eddington, and he would like to present an information item, a golf course presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll get through this as quickly as I can. There's several slides here, and I know you got a long agenda, so I'll ask that the questions just wait until we're done and the end of it. I would even set up a time to go through it again individually if you want to, so I just want to get through it first. quickly.
Thank you, Mr. Dent.
So I just noticed in the background, right there should be a tee box, which there is now. It wasn't built in. And then notice the price is 2010 and 11. Those are significant. The green fee for 9 now is 25. Green fee for 18 is 35. Just wanted to note that real quick. I'll just try to point out what I can, as much as I can. That's right next to the putting green, just west of the golf shop. That's number 1 tee box, and notice in the background with the guy there is no tee. Now it's going on its own here now, so we'll just let it go. That's number 1 tee box with the mums. Again, just a backdrop. New tee box is not there. There's the new tee box itself. It's just part of it. These are things that we have added. Now you can see the tee box in the back that we added. There it is again. It gives you a real good view. That's a flood in 2011. That's on number 11. I don't even know where that is.
Cottonwood Country Club.
That's number 8. Right down in front of number 8 where the flue runs in. Again, that's number 8. Again, these are from 2010 and 11. That's on the back. 9, that's, you're looking at 16 green. These are just snapshots of the golf shop. And again, these are from 2016 and before. I just wanted to give you a quick overview of what we're doing and how things have changed. Take note of that, if you will. And then I'll present another one in 2025 that's completely updated. That's looking west, right over 9 green. Behind that door is 46 lockers that we added when I first got here. And there they are. They've been there now, I think, 12 years. They generate about $2,000 a year. That's number 7 tee box. That's an added flower bed. That's actually the Cheyenne Country Club for the women's tournament. The girls Junior America Cup. Couldn't get that out of my mouth. They came from all over California, Mexico, New York. I show that picture because my wife and I at the time were involved in that. That's junior golf. Those are actually Billy Grubbs' kids. These are just things that we do at the golf course to try to promote junior golf. That's actually an electric skateboard golf cart. This is pictures of our maintenance shop. Just after we got the floor painted and striped. Those are greens reels, mower reels for triplex mowers. That's the inside of our shop. I think most of everybody's been in there. That's not my office, because mine's way more organized. That's our grinding room. Now we have the new grinder off to the left. That's a fleet of carts that we had in 2011 and 12. They're now 10, which we need to go to 20 carts actually next year. I need to get that approved. That was a benefit we did for Mark McKee when he had his motorcycle accident. We raised $11,000 in about 48 hours for the young man. driving range with Glowdorn Lumber Company supplies. And that's how we set them up for a tournament. Pyramids. Again, those are junior golfers on our week of junior golf. That's just a snapshot of our driving range, which is now changed. We have the big rocks that have the yardage markers on them from 100, 150, 200, and 260. That's looking down number 2 at Tom Feaser's house. That's right next to 2 green. Terry Watson planted all those mums. That's a new addition right there that takes you 38 yards back on number 3 further than it was. Again, there it is again. That's coming back off of it. That's number 4 tee box on the community gas. Pay for that one. That is now equity staffing. 2015, we held the state high school golf championship. That's Kaylee Esser, state champion, shot 72, 71, 1 under par. Riverton, I believe, it's a hard golf course. Some of our players from 2015. That's Cash Kaufman. You know that guy, Billy James, Andrea. It's number 1 tee box looking out in the parking lot. Country Club. That's number 10 tee box. That's beautiful. That's number 9 tee box. These are just some of the advertisement sponsorships that we get out. That little bridge right there goes across from number 8 that's been replaced. That's looking at number 4 green. It's right next to 2 green again. And again, some of this stuff has changed. Those big rocks and tee boxes were not there when we got here. We got a great community who supplied several of those tee boxes and planters, 9 on the front, 9 on the back. A good mix. That's 17. That's par 3. Bob's roofing. So some of this is just updated, but when I do it in 2025, we'll give you a complete more snapshot of all the other things that we've done. But just so you knew, we can't stop a flood. We did add the bridges in, which we added 9 of them, but that's not going to stop it, but it'll certainly recede much quicker now with the work that we put into it. That's actually my daughter, here from LA. This is down at the RV park. So when we had that. Tom Troxel takes care of that now, and they do a nice job. Ignore that name to the right. So as you can see, the presentation is pretty quick. Wanted to show you how proud we are of this golf course and some of the things we've done since I've been here and since Gardy and I became a team between me and him, superintendent and head golf professional. We're quite proud of what we do. We'll continue to do this. And 2025, I'll clean this up and we'll give you another presentation of more and things to come. Obviously heading into winter right there. There we go. How to get through that pretty fast for you, Mayor?
Yes, sir. I appreciate that,
You're
David,
absolutely
because
welcome.
we do have such a
If you have
long.
any questions about it, I can certainly bring this to you and we can sit down and we can go through it all. I'll be happy to do it. Would like to take a little bit more time. It's okay. I just want to give you a snapshot of it and let you know I'll do another presentation in 2025.
I think that's good, because we'll have this, and then we'll have a new one in 25.
Absolutely.
Good. Thank you, David.
Dennis, you want to shut this off?
Not different than years ago when I used to play.
Did you have sand greens? Did you? Thank you, David, and thank you, Lynette. Next item on the agenda, we're getting into the action items. Item number 1 for council consideration and approval is Nathan Kendall with Elks Lodge 1726 is requesting approval of extended hours of operation on Sunday, December 31, 2023, until 2 a.m. And I would call on Chief Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is the same consideration that we applied to the retail licenses last session. I don't have any concerns with it. We've got additional staffing coming in to help out, and it makes sense to have New Year's Eve go until 2 a.m. for our retail and club licenses.
I just have one question, Chief, so far anyway. If council is to approve this for the Elks Lodge, then any other club under private club would also have the right to stay open till 2 a.m.?
That is correct, sir.
And Mr. Kendall, are you here? Did you want to address us, sir? Okay. All right. Gentlemen, do you have any questions for the chief or Mr. Eddington?
The only question I have is how many club licenses does this cover?
We have Elks, Moose, Legion. I think that'll be the only 3.
Okay.
And this has been done before when New Year's Eve falls on a Sunday, right?
Oh, Country Club as well. I almost forgot the Country Club. I haven't been here when New Year's Eve fell on a Sunday previously, but my understanding is that that has been consistent. So
It's kind of tough to chase the revelers out at 12:01 and 1 second.
certainly be a conflict-ridden end of celebration, I'm sure.
And you told me today, Chief, you're going to have plenty of people out and about that evening?
We've got extra folks coming in for DUI enforcement, and then we're also planning on extra folks for just call load and checking on the bars.
And that's good fair warning for all those out there. There will be extra DUI enforcement that
That would not be the way you'd like to end your New Year's Eve celebration.
Correct.
Mr. Mayor, if there's nothing further, I would move to approve the extended hours for the, let me back that up. Move to approve the extended hours for club licenses.
I have a motion from Councilman Victron to approve the request for extended hours for private club licenses here in Torrington on Sunday, December 31st, 2023. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Councilman Patterson. Is there any further discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, I'll call for vote. All those in favor of item number 1 of approving extended hours for the private club licenses here in the city of Torrington on Sunday, December 31, 2023, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, that is approved. Item number 1. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is ordinance on third reading relating to alcoholic beverage permits in the city of Torrington. And Mr. Eddington, if you would read by title.
It's an ordinance creating and enacting Section 5.12.045 of the Torrington Municipal Code, 2023 revisions relating to alcoholic beverage permits in the city of Torrington.
Thank you. And again, this is third reading, and I believe this was the ordinance that we had a small amendment between first and second reading.
We did have an amendment between first and second, no amendment to prior to third reading.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve this ordinance on third reading.
I have a motion from Councilman Patterson, item number 2, to approve this ordinance on third reading. The ordinance as presented. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second from Councilman Deal. Any further discussion, gentlemen? All right, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approval on third reading, the ordinance relating to alcohol beverage permits as presented in item 2, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, that ordinance is approved on third reading as that's set forth in item 2. Next item on the agenda is request to approve ordinance on third reading relating to liquor license permit fees. Mr. Eddington, would you read that by title, please?
It's an ordinance amending and reenacting Section 5.12.020 of the Torrington Municipal Code 2023 revisions relating to liquor license permit fees.
Okay, and I'll call on Chief Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is just our third reading on the fee adjustments that matches the alcoholic beverage permits. The last four fees that are listed there are adjusted from $30, which they had been for many, many years, to $50 in accordance with the previous ordinance.
And that's essentially all we're doing here is those bottom four fees, raising from 30 to 50.
That is correct. No changes from the previous reading.
Any questions for Chief Johnson or Mr. Eddington? I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve this ordinance on third reading.
I have a motion from Councilman Patterson and item number 3 to approve that ordinance on third reading that's set forth in item 3. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Kelly. Is there any further discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving that ordinance on third reading related to liquor license permit fees set forth in item 3 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, that ordinance on third reading set forth in item 3 is approved. Mr. Dent is up again. We are on item 4, 2024 golf tournament schedule amendment.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. There's actually two amendments. One is in blue on 5/9, 5/10, which is a Thursday, Friday, for Lusk High School. I don't know if you know what's going on over there. They've had some issues with their golf course irrigation and I guess you could say management, but they're not going to be ready, and we'd like to help them out to host a Lusk tournament here, their home tournament. They have several schools that are coming, and it would be the right thing to do to help them out so that they could have their home tournament here. And if you notice, everything around 5/9 are open dates, pretty much, except for the spring club. So early enough in the year, it's not going to bother anybody or bother any play. We don't start necessarily kicking it into gear until about the end of May, although golf is going on. But that would be a perfect time to be able to help Eddie Fulmer and his high school team out from Lusk.
Well, you said there were two.
There's a second one. And then Nathan Kendall has asked to move the Elks from 6-3 or 6-8 to 8-3. Not a problem on our schedule. In fact, there was a tournament there prior to this, and he would like to have that date. And it's a one-day tournament.
So from 6-8 to 8-3, is that what you said?
Yes, sir.
And that's the, which tournament?
The Elks.
And Mr. Dent, that's not going to cause you any issues?
No,
or-
sir. Those are the only two dates, so if there's any questions, I take those now or see if we can approve that.
Gentlemen, do you have any questions for Mr. Dent?
Mr. Mayor, seeing as there's no discussion, I would make a motion to approve the amended golf tournament schedule.
I have a motion from Councilman Deal to approve the amended golf tournament schedule, which is adding the Lusk High School for Thursday and Friday, May 9th and 10th, and changing the Elks tournament from 6/3 24 to 8/3 of 24. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Councilman Victorin. Any further discussion, gentlemen? Mayor,
I might add that the Lusk tournament is just a one-time request, and the other one is permanent unless they ask for another date later.
Okay. Any further questions for Mr. Dent? I don't think I have a motion yet, do I?
Yes.
You have a motion and a second.
And a second. Thanks for being here. All right. No further discussion. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approval of the amended golf tournament schedule as presented in item 4 this evening and discussed here, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, those amendments are approved.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you,
Thank you,
Council.
Mr. Dent. Why have you got? One of the reasons.
Just want to express my disappointment that a former speech student wasn't willing to come up to the podium and talk to us tonight.
And you don't want to call that person by name, right? All right. All right, we are now on the second page of the agenda this evening. Item number 5, a request to approve the Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, between the City of Torrington and Eastern Wyoming College regarding the new CDL training program at the EWC. And I believe this was drafted by Mr. Eddington, City Attorney, so I'd call on him first.
Primarily drafted by Chief Johnson, so I'll
Oh.
defer to him. I have
Okay.
reviewed it and certainly don't have any problem with it.
Okay. I will call on Chief Johnson.
We just put together an agreement to allow for collaboration between the city and EWC to utilize the, not the runways, but the taxiways at the airport for their driver's training program related to CDLs, and we were able to get a benefit of that in getting a free CDL training annually from the EWC CDL training program. And I think Director Harkins had more to do with that as well. Did you have anything that needed to be added?
No, it's pretty much what Chief Johnson said. We get one free training per calendar year for our staff in, commercial driver's license, which as of right now is becoming extremely expensive. I think the cost is somewhere between $5,000 to $6,000 for the enrollment. Obviously, our taxiways are fairly void of traffic, and it presents a good opportunity for the students to be able to learn how to shift and drive and turn up there without having the complications of actually trying to avoid traffic at the same time. So I think it's kind of a win-win situation for both the city and the college.
And that is heavy asphalt and can take that weight, right?
Oh, correct, yes. It was actually just recently reconstructed, so it's all brand new.
And would the instructor from EWC set up a regular schedule with the airport manager, or have you?
That's part of the MOU. He has to contact the airport manager when they're going to be bringing a student or students up there for training. That's just common courtesy and part of the MOU.
And he couldn't get on there anyway without the approval of the airport manager or his assistant, right?
Right, and also they're going to be given a handheld radio so that they can listen to air traffic that might be in the area. And obviously, they have to yield right away to any of the planes that are, coming down the taxiways.
Mr. Mayor, a question. Any concern on the part of the airport board?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, thank you.
And FFA is good with it, or you wouldn't have presented this?
Yeah, actually, I don't think FAA is really necessarily been contacted. I don't think it's an issue as far as the use of the taxiways.
Well, it's a pretty good agreement, I think. It benefits both parties, and it's a significant benefit to the city of Torrington to get a free CDL training per calendar year.
Definitely.
Free, and trade for that. Nothing's free. All right, gentlemen, any questions for Mr. Harkins or Mr. Eddington or anybody? Comments?
Just, this seems mutually beneficial to both parties. Looks like a good agreement, so.
Now, these trucks that are going to be driving up there, the trailers, they're going to be empty?
Yes, I believe so. I mean, there's really no reason to have them loaded.
Well, if
They're
they're
not
empty,
going to be delivering.
they're empty, there'd be
anything.
less chance of damaging the runway
Yeah.
or taxiway, I guess.
I mean, primarily, the whole purpose of this is for them to learn the shifting and the driving, backing up and stuff like that. Not necessarily, hauling any type of material for some kind of a project or that.
Now, I know when they were talking about the solar panels up there, they were worried about the glare off the solar panels. They're not worried about glare off of these truck mirrors or windshields or anything like that?
I would not believe so. They're probably no different than airplanes that might be driving on the taxiways.
Okay.
Planes are landing and taking off anyways.
All right, and I just want to reiterate that this was drafted primarily by Chief Johnson and read and approved by the city attorney.
As a pilot in training, Councilman Victor, do you have any concerns with this?
I thought Jeff had as much to do with it as I did.
I don't believe the airport board really has taken up this issue. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't know if it was ever presented. I don't believe so. There was a couple, I think there was at
May
least
have
one
been
board
some
meeting that I was
informal
at, so-
discussion on it.
But this has been thoroughly discussed with the airport manager. He's met, and I've met with the commercial driver trainers up there at the airport and discussed this whole thing with them.
But you say the FAA hasn't been consulted?
Really don't think that it's necessary to consult them on this issue. It's not impacting airport operations.
I know that at least historically, there's precedent for this. At various times, the fire department and the police department have done various vehicle maneuvering exercises at the airport. Historically, that's been done, so.
I believe you're correct with the police department. I'm not familiar with the fire department, though.
I remember, and this is a number of years ago, but the fire department was up there putting foam down and doing some things that, and
Training.
training, so.
Mayor, if I may, just to give credit where credit is due, I believe Mr. Harkins had a whole lot more to do with this than I did. I appreciate Mr. Eddington throwing the credit my way. I was aware of it as part of the wage committee discussion and kicked in on some of it, but I'm not sure how much drafting I actually did, so
Well, it's teamwork, is it
all credit
not?
to Mr. Harkins, please.
What has the airport manager mentioned about this?
He's all in favor of it. And like I said, he's discussed it. He's looked over this MOU. He had input for some of the things that he would want to require. Those have been incorporated into here, and I think he's ready to go. I know that the college is ready to go, so.
I can't imagine that it would be that frequent that they would have dozens of drivers in training.
They have a pretty good enrollment, I believe. A lot of the classwork is online, so students can really progress basically at their own pace. Some want to get it over as quickly as possible, others might try to drag it out. But one aspect of the training is the obvious behind-the-wheel driving, which is what the taxiway affords the students.
And at this point, Mr. Harkins, the EWC program only has one truck and trailer, right?
I believe they have two.
Two?
I think they're up to 2 now, and I think they have 2 instructors.
Well, and there's a safety valve in here, in that if it's not workable, it can be terminated by 30 days written notice. I think I read that in there.
It's in there, yes.
It also says that there'll be basically one city employee per year to take the CDL test. How has that been determined? Who gets it and who doesn't?
Well, basically, our staff, if we hire somebody who's new and they don't have a CDL license, then that would probably be our candidate. I don't think it's going to occur more than twice a year. At least I hope not, because the second one, we're probably going to have to pay for ourselves, which I think is going to be presented a little later on. But, I mean, basically, that's the whole reason for it, is as somebody who's a new hire to the city that doesn't have the CDL and needs that CDL to drive the trucks that we have, this affords us the opportunity to get them the training, basically at no cost to the city.
Go
ahead.
ahead. Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
No, go ahead.
Hypothetically speaking, if there was a situation where the city didn't have in a given year a candidate for a CDL training, but EWC continues to utilize the facility for training, would they allow us to bank training?
I don't believe that's part of the MOU, no. It's just one student per calendar year for the city.
And on the other hand, I'd thought about that. If you had a candidate in November of a year and you had another one in January, you'd be able to do that because it's one per calendar year.
Correct.
Mayor, if there's no further discussion, I would move to approve this MOU with Eastern Wyoming College.
All right, I have a motion from Councilman Patterson and item number 5 to approve the MOU between the City of Torrington and EWC as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Deal. Gentlemen, any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approval of the memorandum of understanding between the City of Torrington and Eastern Wyoming College as set forth in item 5 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay.
Nay.
That is approved. We will next move on to item 6. That is request to approve the bid for the FY24 sewer line improvements. Staff recommends awarding the bid to Instuiform, if I pronounce that correctly, Technologies LLC of Chesterfield, Missouri, in the amount of $635,551 and a reserve of $64,449, 10.14% for contingency for a project total of $700,000. And I would first call on Mr. Harkins.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you stated, we're recommending Council award this project to Instuiform Technologies. Basically, this project consists of almost 2 miles of sewer lining within the city, including some of our larger 12-inch sewer mains. Basically, a bid opening for this project was held on December 6th. There were 2 bids that were received in conformance with the bidding requirements. Instuiform Technologies was the low bid at $635,551. The contractor has been given the option of when to start. 90 calendar days to complete the project. The project needs to be substantially complete before the end of the fiscal year. Funding for this project was established in the 2024 fiscal year budget in the amount of $780,000. So we are substantially lower than what was actually budgeted for this project. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer those.
Where are all this lining taking place?
It starts up around the hospital and then goes down behind EWC, crosses West C, and then comes into the city of Torrington. And then it there's several different areas. One of the areas is the alley to the east of East D Street. That's pretty much all going to be done all the way up. And then there's some other areas, I think, on East A. And then there's a few small areas around, I think there's one around Pioneer Park and one over there on West A or B. Like I said, it's 2 miles worth of lining, which is significant.
Now, I presume that this is kind of lining the old clay tile, or
Most all of it is clay tile. There's one section of ductile iron that goes underneath West C Street from the college across over into, I think, the Vista track.
now, do all these lines have to be flushed and cleaned out before they do this?
I believe so, yes.
And that's by that company or the Vector?
Yes.
City is responsible or what?
No. The company's responsible for cleaning.
And Mr. Harkins, they can do this in the cold months, right?
Correct. The socks, if you will, that they bring up to line the culverts with, or the pipes with, are come up in a refrigerated truck. They have to be kept cold. Once they start getting exposed to heat, which is the whole process, they pull the socks through the sewer pipe, inflate it, and then steam cure it in place.
And we've used this particular bidder in the past, right?
Yes, we have.
And that was successful?
It's been fairly successful, yes. It's a very inexpensive way to rehabilitate your sewer lines because it requires no excavation, no pipe replacement. You're just basically using the infrastructure that's there, just improving it by sealing up if you're familiar with the clay pipes, they're pretty short sections and there's a lot of joints, and through the years there might be some movement, or there's obviously, if you have trees around, there probably get some tree root intrusion on those also, but this pretty much makes it one solid piece between manholes.
And this is older, decades-old technology, and it's the technology that has held up. This is a good process.
I'm not going to say decades old. I think it's relatively new technology,
Okay.
but it's a proven technology.
How much does this reduce the inside diameter by?
Usually, it's about a 1/4 inch on each side, so it would reduce the diameter by a 1/2 inch or less. But at the same time, it improves the, I'm going to say, flowability of the pipe, because it makes it a smooth pipe throughout the whole manhole-to-manhole thing without having the joints and stuff in there.
What is or how long does this extend the life of that sewer line?
Once it's in place, I'm going to say 50 years, but it could be actually longer. really, there's nothing that would deteriorate this because it's kind of like a PVC pipe, so it's not going to rot. It's not going to degrade because of sunlight or anything like that.
If something should go wrong while they're doing this, and it does collapses a chunk of sewer pipe that's already there, is there something in the contract that states whose fault who takes care of that?
The probability of them collapsing a pipe is pretty infinitesimal because they're not really doing any pressure on the outside of the pipe. All the pressure would be on the inside of the pipe, and it's a very low pressure process. I mean, you're just inflating like a balloon into the existing pipe.
But in their process of cleaning the pipe out, there could theoretically be something go wrong.
That'll probably be just like what Tom and his crew do with the Vector truck. They just pretty much flush the things with water. So, again, pretty much infinitesimal probability of any kind of damage being done to the pipe.
It says 180 lateral reinstatements. Is that where,
That is where the services to the residents and like EWC and those type of things that come into the existing sewer pipe, what happens is they send this little, I'm going to call it a robot, down there, and they locate where the pipes come in, and they cut it out with this robot. It's kind of a neat process, really.
what happens to the sewer, to the resident before they cut that hole?
Well, they're going to be notified of the day that the work is going to be taking place, and they're going to be requested not to, utilize
What's that day?
their, sewer things, toilets and showers and whatever. But the inconvenience is usually limited to a few hours because the process is pretty quick. I mean, it's just, you clean the pipe out, you pull the sock through, you inflate it, and you steam cure it. And then you send your little robot down there to cut out the services. And then they're basically up and running.
In the curing it, that's in short order, it's cured, right?
Yeah.
And where's this Instaform Technologies out of?
I think the company is coming out of Denver, but I think the main company's out of Missouri.
How much of the city's infrastructure has utilized this?
There's been a couple of projects since I became city engineer. So starting in 2017, I think was like there was one project that was down on the south side. I think some of those older houses down by Pioneer Park in the alley. And then I think there were some newer ones up on the alleys on either side of Main Street. Those are the ones I'm familiar with. I mean, there may have been more prior to my tenure as, city engineer, but.
Well, Mr. Mayor, given all that and everything, I would move to approve and award the bid to Instituform Technologies.
I have a motion from Councilman Victorin and item number 6 to approve to award the bid to Instituform Technologies. That item is set forth in item 6. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Kelly. Gentlemen, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving the award of the bid as set forth in item 6 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, that bid is awarded. That's set forth in item 6. Next item on the agenda is a request to approve and award a bid for the FY24 electrical department parking garage. Staff recommends awarding the bid to Goshen County Construction of Torrington, Wyoming in the amount of $243,818 and reserve of $6,182, which is 2.54% for contingency, for a total project of $250. And I would again call on Mr. Harkins.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Council. Again, we do recommend the council award the fiscal year '24 electrical department parking garage to Goshen County Construction. Basically, this parking garage consists of a 50 by 50 foot parking garage area for the City of Torrington Electrical Department. It'll be steel construction, 16-foot walls, insulated roof with 3 14 by 14 foot doors. There'll be some windows and some man doors included in this also. We did have a bid opening on December 13th. 3 bids were submitted in conformance with the bidding requirements. Goshen County Construction was the low bid at $243,818. This project has a substantial completion date of November 19th, 2024. Funding for this project was established in the 2024 fiscal year budget in the amount of $225,000. The balance of the funding, $25,000, will be requested in the fiscal year 25 budget. I would entertain any questions.
I just note that Goshen County Construction was substantially lower in their bid than either Triple O Construction or Paul Reed, which is good.
It's very good. I mean, it's a very good bid. We've been fairly fortunate this year with the building constructions that have been going on. We're actually getting some really decent prices.
And where's this structure to be built?
It's going to be built up at the shop towards the east end in an area that they've kind of cleared out for it.
And why that particular place?
It's kind of got enough room around it that they can get their equipment in and out, and without having to move a whole lot of the, I guess, the water department's pipes and electrical department's transformers and wire and everything else that's up there.
Personally, I would think the better spot to do it would be it up by the Public Works building where there's room to expand. Is there any thought ever given to putting it out there?
There was, at one point in time, which we've discussed at various budget work sessions, the quote Public Works facility where we would house both the electrical purchasing. There would be a wash bay and streets and sanitation. We would just encompass all of those divisions or departments, if you will, in a single building. But obviously, that's got a very pricey price tag of over $1 million, $1.5 million. So this is, I guess, basically what the city can afford at this time, and it does help out the electrical department with the storage of their vehicles. They've got some rather new vehicles that are currently under the lean-to up there at the shop, and they're having issues with bird droppings getting all over the equipment, and because of the fiberglass, it's starting to deteriorate some of the equipment up there.
Well, I think one of the biggest reasons was the They're parking their trucks in the service shop now, and they don't have room to put anything else in there.
That's another issue. I believe some of the equipment will still be in the shop area. This building would be able to encompass, I think, 3 large pieces of equipment. Bucket trucks, digger trucks, something like those type of pieces of equipment.
Why the 16-foot sidewalls?
Oh, for the height?
Yeah.
Bucket trucks, I don't know exactly, but I'm sure they're at least 10 feet tall. You got a 14-foot garage door opening. You need an extra couple of feet for the roll-up doors to be able to go up.
I have a few questions.
Sure.
Will this garage have any type of concrete floor?
Yes,
It will?
and 4-foot concrete stem walls.
And what about electrical service?
Electrical service will be included. Actually, that's a new requirement from the state fire marshal. All buildings now must have the electrical components included.
And then will it house all of their motorized equipment?
No,
No.
So this $243,000 includes it all electrical?
includes the electrical for the building, yes.
How about heated?
That I'm not so sure of, and I don't think that's being included as of right now. I mean, the main purpose of this is to get the equipment out of the weather and not necessarily to be working on them in there. I mean, that would be done at the shop.
Any water lines or anything to it?
No water lines, no.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve awarding the bid to Goshen County Construction for the electrical department parking garage.
Regarding item number 7, I have a motion from Councilman Patterson to award the bid for the electrical department parking garage as set forth on the agenda. Do I have a second for that?
Second.
Second from Councilman Victorin. Is there any further discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving and awarding the bid for the electrical department parking garage as set forth in item 7 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, that bid is approved as set forth in item 7. Next item on the agenda is item number 8, request to approve and award a bid for a new ambulance. Staff recommends awarding the bid without the alternate Stryker Power Load cot to Sawtooth Emergency Vehicles of Shepherd, Montana in the amount of $192,297 and reserve of $7,703, which is 4%, for contingency for the chassis price fluctuation for a total price of $200,000. And I would first call on Mrs. Strecker.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We opened bids on December 6th at 2 p.m. Unfortunately, we only had one bid. We did send out 5 packets. One bidder did come in and bid. It's a strange environment out there, as we've talked about for over a year now. Apparently, Chevrolet will not give her the final price on the chassis until it's built and invoiced, which is a year and a half away. So she did put in her bid that contingency there as I noted in the memo. We've never ran across this before. Had a meeting with Mr. Eddington, Dana, and the mayor, trying to figure out how to move forward with this. This is funded by ARPA money, which needs to be allocated by the end of this year. Or 24. Sorry, I'm already getting ahead of myself.
Calendar year.
At the end, or December of '24, yeah. So, we kind of mimicked what construction contracts or recommendations, they have contingencies. And we felt like this was a fair contingency, considering we have a $200,000 budget, and that we're basically asking you to approve the budget amount for this vehicle, giving a $7,700 contingency price for the fluctuation of the chassis. Also, their price is going up at the end of the year on the actual medic part of the ambulance, so they do need to have a decision tonight. So Darren is here to answer any questions you might have, but our recommendation is to move forward with a $7,700 contingency amount for this ambulance.
Darren, you want to come up? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've been doing this job a long time, and I've never have had this incident come up where we have to wait for the chassis price. I did talk to Lori today from Sawtooth. Lori actually came down here from Montana for the bid opening. She thinks that it's going to be several months before they'll actually bid and price out that chassis. So I can't give you an amount. She thinks maybe an additional $2,500 to cover the cost, but she doesn't know for sure. And we're looking at maybe a year and a half to 2 years before we can get this truck.
And that year and a half or 2 years is no fault of the dealer or you, or it's the supply chain problem that we have, right?
That was Sawtooth Emergency Vehicles just saying that right there for you. Yeah, there's just no control over it. So, I mean, I've never had this. I've been in the process of bidding and speccing a lot of ambulances, and this has never come up. So Lori has been able to get, I think the last 2 or 3 of our trucks is where have purchased them from. So she's very dedicated to the city and the ambulance service and does a great job for me with any questions that I have.
And I think today you told me this is the 3rd ambulance that
I think it's the 3rd, yeah.
purchased through her,
Yeah.
and the prior experiences were good experiences.
It's been great. I mean, she drove from Montana for the bid opening, so that, I think, speaks high deal.
I would make an educated guess that your current fleet, a year and a half, is going to
Continue?
going to put you in a bind at all?
I don't think so. The one we're going to get rid of, we have a significant issue with the DEF system right now. So we're kind of limping that along. Currently, it has 164,000 miles on it. I just looked at it today. It's on the road a lot. We are not going to fix that DEF system. Brian's at shop tells us about $4,000 to fix that, and I'm not going to put that in. So hopefully, if we can do this, we can just trade that in and get rid of that truck.
And this is not just a guess by Lori. This is a reasoned number. I think you said 2,000, she thought, ballpark?
Estimated, yeah.
Estimated.
Yeah.
So, but it's not just a guess. It's estimated based on some experience.
It gives us a little bit of wiggle room, and we're going to cut out that striker powered load system. So what that is you're able to put the cot on a contraption, and it basically takes the cot itself and puts it in the ambulance, so there's no lifting by the medics. My staff would absolutely love that, but at $59,000, I don't think it's what we need right now. So it's a want, not definitely a need.
Guy that throws his back out might disagree with you.
Well, it might save on workman's comp claims, but I don't know to the tune of $59,000. So anything healthcare is just expensive now, anything.
Will it still be a 24 model?
That's what she anticipates, yes.
So how did she arrive, or did she tell you how she arrived at that 50,964?
That is if they would go and get it right now when she was putting the bid together off the lot. And like I said, it'll be several months before they can do that with Medics and Chevy. I've never seen this. She said she's never had to do this a lot. I know the city attorney said he's never seen it, so it's just interesting times we're in.
So it is kind of an unusual situation, but if you step back and look at it, in the budget, we approved that amount. This is largely federally funded, and the price still is in the budget,
Yeah.
within the budgeted amount. So it really,
And the way it's looking, we'll still
bad.
fall underneath the budget of 200,000.
yeah. It's just the delay is probably the biggest
Correct.
concern.
It's just kind of a different way of doing it.
And that can't be, the year and a half or whatever can't be helped,
Right.
so.
Is this like a pickup cabin chassis or a van cabin chassis?
Truck chassis.
Truck chassis?
Yeah. And it will be a gas, so we're kind of happy with that right now.
And it'll fit in your ambulance bays now?
What's that?
It'll fit in your ambulance bays that you already got?
I'm going to come next week and require that we build a new building.
Just cut off the hood to go out there.
We'll just cut it off a little bit and not have a garage door. We'll be good.
Okay. Maybe you can park
I could park an electrical one, a new one. I don't know how Dana would feel about that.
Darren, do you think there's any interest in that unit that would be traded in, if there's any interest locally in another?
You know, we ran into this when we did the last one. We always get really low reimbursement for those trucks. So we actually went out to a company that buys them, and I think we got, if I remember right, like 6,200 last time. So they just don't get a lot of money in on the trade-ins. 164,000 is a lot of hard miles on those things. People buy them actually nowadays and make them into campers and stuff like that, so I'd be glad to sell it to you, Councilman.
They do have hard use, right, just by definition?
Absolutely. You know, we travel roughly around 39,000 miles a year on the road, so.
And a lot of idling time, so there's
Yeah,
a lot of
absolutely.
hours in
Yep.
addition to the miles.
Well, and just very briefly, we did have that meeting because Mr. Eddington's been here for 33 years, and he's never seen it. Lynette's been
I
here
didn't know
for,
what to do.
and Darren's never seen it. And logically, it made sense to kind of do it like we do a construction project, with that, set aside that contingency amount. The logic's sound, I think. It's,
If we had more than one bidder, it probably wouldn't work. But
Right.
they're the only bidder, we can negotiate a little bit.
I, for one, just want to throw in my comment. I appreciate it that it's a gas model. I was reading not a good story about the Lusk Ambulance Department recently, transporting a patient to Casper, and I think their DEF system on one of their units left them stranded on the interstate.
Yeah, we've been in the same position.
and the gas is so much better in the cold weather than the diesel.
Absolutely. And it's cheaper for fuel.
I appreciate that we continue to have emergency services like this available to us, given the state of the state and the nation right now, with that sort of thing. So, recognizing the need, I would make a motion to approve the bid for a new ambulance.
All right. I have a motion from Councilman Deal on item 8 to approve the award of the bid for the new ambulance is set forth. Do I have a second?
Just to clarify, Mayor, is your motion that we award?
The motion is for, would be option 2.
Option 2, that's,
Yes.
and I would second that.
Sorry, just for my clarification, you're essentially moving the staff recommendation.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, okay. All right, with that clarification on the motion, do I have a second?
I second.
And I appreciate the clarification. Second from Councilman Patterson. Any further discussion, gentlemen? All right, I'll try to state this well. All those in favor of approving the award of the new ambulance as recommended by staff and set forth as option 2, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, that is approved, that a bid is awarded, option 2. Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Darren. All right, next item on the agenda is item number 9. Performance evaluation and merit increase request. And I call on Mrs. Strecker.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I have heard from the Performance Evaluation Review Committee that the process went very well again this year. There are a couple members of that committee here today. They completed 93 reviews of evaluations, and the results are on this memo. So we had 21 employees that were rated extraordinary. That's 23%. 30 employees rated at exceed expectation. Fully meets expectation, we had 26 employees. Meets expectations, we had 14 employees. And not fully meeting expectations, we had 2 employees, or only 2%. So, yes.
And what I would like to, I think I do this annually, but I'd like to point out what that is those are typically employees who are still in training. There aren't problems, they just aren't fully trained yet.
Correct.
And that's both those last 2 categories, not fully meeting and does not meet? Or
Yeah, well, there aren't any and that does not meet expectations,
okay.
but just for the public and whoever might be interested in, the question comes up, well, why are you keeping people that aren't meeting expectations? All that means is they're, in this particular case, in these cases, those are new employees that are currently in the training phase.
Thank you for that clarification, that's good.
So to go on, average performance score was a 3.98, which is fully meets expectations, so that's right to where we would like them to be. And that's only up by 0.02. And then the medium performance score was 4, and that's the same as last year. The average merit increase was 80 cents an hour, which is up 9 cents an hour. And the median merit increase was 67 cents an hour, which was up by 6 cents an hour. We have 3 longevity stipends. Those are long-term employees who have been here over 10 years who are at the top of their scale, and they get a stipend based on their rating, and that is up this year by $1,450. So in fiscal year '24, I expect that increased to be approximately $99,000, and that includes benefits. Unfortunately, I projected in the budget only $81,000. Although there's a difference, we're not really going to know exactly which departments those differences will come in. So at the end of the year, if we find out that there is going to be some adjustments to the budget needed, I will make those adjustments then. But I do recommend moving forward with this. This is a long and very involved process, and it keeps our departments and the employees, they're accountable for their actions. They get rewarded for good performance. I think it's just a really good process, and we need to continue it.
Just curious, how long has that process that we went through this year been in place?
I believe this is the 5th year.
Sounds right.
And it's improved every year, according to the committee.
Certainly has, dramatically.
People are understanding the process, those evaluating and those being evaluated.
Supervisors are doing much better than the original year.
I'd be stand for any questions.
Gentlemen, any further questions for Mrs. Strecker? Or for Mr. Eddington or Mr. Harkins, who are on that evaluation committee? Put them on the spot, too.
Or Mr. Yates, who's on the committee.
Mr. Yates, he's hiding back there.
We have another committee member, and I'm on the committee.
There are all
so-
kinds of
so-
people in here.
I think the committee's here.
It is, too.
Answer all kinds of questions.
Everybody is evaluated in this process?
All full-time and permanent part-time. The seasonals usually aren't here all year, but they do get basically a 25-cent raise every year they come back.
And how many permanent part-time do we even have? Approximately.
I think there's about 6 or 7.
Mr. Mayor, do you as mayor review the department heads in their evaluation?
I certainly could. I'm responsible for 7 people.
Yes. He has 7 employees he supervises, yes.
Does that answer your question? And it is quite a process. It's obviously the first time I've gone through it. It's very detailed. It's very procedural. It is run through at least twice, right, through the committee. First time for typos even, and every single typo is cleared up. The ones I did, I look flawless to me, and because they made it through the committee, and you miss things, and they give you various suggestions, not on substance necessarily, but on the language you're using and the misspellings or lack of misspellings. So it's quite a intricate process, and I give the committee credit. They put a lot of work in over a few short weeks. It's a very detailed process.
Well, I would make a motion to accept the Performance Evaluation Review Committee suggestion and for the wage increases.
All right, we are on item number 9, and Councilman Kelly has moved for council to approve the performance evaluation and merit increase request as set forth in item number 9. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Victorin. Gentlemen, is there any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, item number 9 of approving the performance evaluation and merit increase request, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, item number 9, performance evaluation and merit increase request is approved. Next item on the agenda is item number 10, policy handbook amendments. And there are 2 subparts. Subpart A, bereavement leave, and Subpart B, compensation and performance evaluation, and that is set forth on one page there. Well, the explanation, the policy is set forth on several pages. And I would call on Mrs. Strecker.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. We also have several members of the Wage Committee here tonight. We considered 2 policies for revision, the bereavement policy This is a fairly new policy, and every time we've used it, we've kind of had a revision. This year, we did have a closure due to a bereavement of an employee, and we found that there needed to be a correction in the employees allowed comp time for them being required to work during that time. And the cemetery positions were required to work during that closure period and were not given comp time as the emergency personnel who were required to work. So we changed the language in that, and then we clarified also on page 1. If you look, it's redlined in that policy. On the statement of policy, just to clarify the wording on there, that if you're notified of a death on that day and you leave work, that day does not count towards, or will not be deducted from the available bereavement leave that's allowed for that time. So just kind of clarified the language on that. So those are the only 2 changes that the committee considered on that one. The second one is compensation and performance evaluation. I clarified some of the timeline of the performance evaluation. All of those are highlighted in yellow. I felt like they needed to be cleaned up just a tiny bit, just correspond with our procedure. And also, the Performance Evaluation Committee felt like any employee that had not been employed for less than 6 months, it's kind of hard to review them. And like Councilman Patterson said, they always end up usually under expectations. So we put the clarification in there that employees would not be eligible for a merit increase or a formal evaluation for any employee working less than 6 months. And then I did clarify on probationary periods, found that demotions were not included in that. And so in number 2 on page 3, under probationary periods, we added demotions and then the language there to correspond to that. And that, so both demotions and promotions would be a 6-month probationary period. And those are the changes to that. Yes.
I have just one observation, I guess. It's on the second one on page 5, third paragraph down. It states Performance Management Committee. And a couple of times in that. Is that the Employment Performance Evaluation Review Committee?
It's actually called the Performance Management Committee in the policy.
Okay.
If you look on page 4, we established that committee, so it may be called a few different things, but that is the same committee.
Okay. I just was looking for consistency there, so I guess we'll have to start calling our committee by its proper name, I guess.
I can definitely make sure that the policy is consistent throughout. I see another in the policy, but I think it is.
Yeah,
And I'll make sure my memo matches
and
it.
that's a minor issue, but it can
Yeah.
be important. It just needs to be
Yeah.
consistent, and so.
So those are the two revised policies for number 10. Are there any other questions?
Now, on the bereavement leave policy, the bottom of page 1, it says employees are allowed up to 3 days off from regular scheduled duty with regular pay in the event of the death of an employee's immediate family. But they can take more days off than that.
Correct. If they need more days, it just would not be bereavement. They would have to use vacation, comp time, or some other type of leave.
Or not get paid at all. But they could still take, let's say they take a week and a half or 2 weeks off, they'd still have their job though, right?
Certainly, if they work it out with their supervisor, that's fine. Yeah.
Because in some cases, 3 days probably wouldn't be near enough.
May not, but we used to not have any, so. So there were times more than not that people didn't have any leave to take.
Yeah.
And so that's why we added this policy to at least give them some time. And if you look at the second paragraph under statement of policy, it does explain there, in addition to bereavement leave, an employee may, with his or her supervisor's approval, use any available vacation, comp time, or accrued discretionary leave time. But it does not include sick. The sick is discretionary. It has to be used for sick.
And then, Mrs. Stricker, on pages 4 and 5, there's a lot of yellow. Bottom of page 4 is performance evaluation timeline. That is just, there was nothing there regarding a timeline before, or these are changes?
I'm sorry, what?
Was there nothing there before regarding a timeline, or are these changes?
No, there was.
These are, so it revised, changed timeline?
Yeah.
And I should point out, Mr. Mayor, that the amount of time for bereavement leave is already an approved policy. What we are looking at tonight are the changes in red for that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And same thing with compensation and performance evaluation. We're just looking for approval for the changes.
The changes, yes, that is correct.
So procedurally, Mayor, with these, we just approve these, and it's done. It's a one-time approval process for
Right.
it. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, so. Do they need approved separately?
They do not unless you have changes.
I don't intend to cut off any discussion if there is any, but if not, I would move to approve these two policies as amended.
All right, I have a motion from Councilman Patterson on item number 10 to approve the policy handbook amendments relating to sub-item B, bereavement leave, and sub-item A relating to bereavement leave, and sub-item B relating to compensation and performance evaluation. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Victorin. Any further discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. Item 10, All those in favor of approving policy handbook amendments relating to bereavement leave and compensation and performance evaluation as set forth in item 10, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, those policy handbook amendments set forth in item 10 are approved. Next item on the agenda is item number 11, which was amended. Request to approve policy handbook, new policy. Sub-item number A, excuse me, CDL training payment/repayment policy, and B, which relates to the shop foreman receiving benefits for holding a CDL. And I would call on Mrs. Strecker.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you recall, we did have a work session in September. The Wage Committee has discussed this for hours, along with department heads, and we met with EWC training program. We brought all the information to you with a recommendation to move forward. This is our attempt for the new policy on our CDL payment and repayment. As we discussed in the work session, you gave me some direction, or us direction, to move forward with the policy that we, as a city, would pay for the training and the wages while training for that employee. And then to have a 1-year, basically probationary period for that employee. And if they remain employed for 1 year, then they will not have to repay for that training. If they leave us before that 1-year anniversary of receiving the CDL, there would be repayment of that training to the city by that employee. It's worded here pretty clearly, and then after that year, there would be a performance incentive of 5%. Basically, this would be incentive for them to stay with us and not move on, because there's a lot of opportunity out there for CDL holders. So this 5% incentive would be given, as you can see in the policy. In order to receive the performance incentive, the employee must also meet all requirements of the DOT for the drug and alcohol testing and have no traffic safety violations of the City of Torrington policy, municipal ordinance, and Wyoming state statute. Though that is the policy in a nutshell. I also did add at the very end for those renewals that the city currently pays for the renewal of CDs. So we would continue to do that, and we just put that in policy there. Any retests, the employee who fails the CDL test would be responsible for the cost of any retests. The repayment agreement is attached in attachment A, right behind the policy. And Mr. Eddington did draft that, if you have any questions on that.
Mr. Mayor, I do. I know historically, these things have been kind of tough to enforce at times, or to collect, or those kind of things. Is there any problems with legality of doing this? Is it legal to do this? And
It's a gray area. There's not a lot of good case law on it,
yeah,
but we believe you have the freedom of contract, as does the city, and that's what we're relying on. There's an incentive that goes both ways, and so we believe it's reasonable and can be enforced. Now, we haven't had any experience with that. I haven't seen a case, at least in the appellate era, that I could review and rely on, but based on the freedom of contract, we think we can do it.
And that's, in previous discussions in other settings with attorneys about these sorts of things, that seems to be kind of the consensus, is that it's probably legal, but difficult at times to enforce or to collect. It can be, so.
Certainly can be. You're going to get the easiest way to do it, of course, if there's a failure, would be to offset on their last check. And we have the right of offset, not only by this agreement, but by state statute. But after that, if there was a substantial amount of money, it would be a judgment call, so to speak, to pursue them after that if there was funds remaining owed to the city.
And I just, now glancing through this, I read it earlier and I didn't have this question, now this question's come up. If that employee, for whatever reason, is terminated before their year's up, would,
It applies in that case if you're terminated for a cause.
yes. Okay,
Then we believe we have the right to collect.
okay.
And if you notice the language there, it says the city may take civil action, and it also says may in the contract. It may not be worth it, I don't
Well-
know. That's a decision that we probably have to make at that time.
Yeah, and I like the idea of that flexibility, so you're not locked into something that may not be in everyone's best interest
Right,
in a given situation, so.
right.
Now, under the performance incentive, the 5% pay increase doesn't take in effect till day 366, is that right?
After obtaining the CDL and maintaining it, yes.
And it's not retroactive to day one?
No,
I wonder if that should be included in that statement somewhere.
to add retroactive, you mean?
To specify that it's not retroactive, yeah. Just a thought.
We will definitely look at that with Attorney Eddington and adjust it if we need to, if he thinks it's ambiguous.
I think that the policy takes care of that.
It seems to.
Yeah, I think that first sentence reads so that it does say, after obtaining and maintaining the CDL. So,
I think we're covered there.
Okay.
I have a question concerning the agreement with the Eastern Wyoming College. If an employee was to utilize that route for training, then severs his or her employment with the city before the year mark, how would the repayment of that take place?
We would base it on the actual, what they would normally charge us if we didn't have a free gratis one owed to us.
So basically, we probably pay for the learner's permit, the physical, and the employee doesn't have to repay his wage, so.
That would be a problem.
Mr. Mayor, it looks like Mr. Estes has a.
Mayor, just so you understand, the fire service volunteers can get their CDLs paid for through the fire service. We have one doing it now that works for us. I don't know that there would be a repayment in that situation,
No.
just so you're aware of that.
Okay. No, I agree. That's not relevant to this.
So like he works for our water department, but he's getting a CDL through the fire service because he's a volunteer up. So if he would leave within that year, there could be a gray area there of him paying back.
Well, I don't think it would apply because that doesn't affect the city directly. It affects fire department.
City wouldn't be out anything.
We wouldn't have a damage to claim.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah, so it wouldn't apply in that, under those facts.
and this policy only applies if the job description requires a CDL.
That's what I'm saying. His job description the water department does. He's
Yeah.
a volunteer. As being a volunteer, he's getting a CDL for free.
Yeah, if you choose to get one on your own, and it's not required as part of your job description,
No, that's right, I
Yeah.
don't understand each other. He's getting it for his job at the water department,
okay?
but he's a volunteer, so there's no money changing hands.
He's utilizing a free training.
That's good for him.
It's good for
Yeah.
us, too.
Right.
But
Good for
there's
us.
no-
Require employment,
There's
your
no
employment to be a
expense
volunteer
or
fire.
benefit of the city being used, so.
And the city is paying his wage while he's training.
I just don't, under those facts.
Have him pay that back if he would leave within that year. I just want to what a gray area there.
There's nothing to pay back to the city.
So I think that he would be good in that situation, Dennis. And I just want to say, and, I mean, it's obvious, most of these cases, I hope they don't happen, but if they do, the advantage the city has is they have the last paycheck.
Right.
And it's clear that the city would be entitled to keep the last paycheck, and that may likely be the only reimbursement the city would get. You know.
And I don't
investment-
think 1 year is unreasonable.
Right.
I mean, I could see some contracts for longer than that. But 1 year is, it's reasonable.
All right, if there aren't any further questions on the CDL training payment, repayment policy and the proposed agreement, Mrs. Strecker, could you explain item B there, which is the shop foreman's situation where he currently has a Class A CDL? And that's-
Yes. So the Wage Committee considered a request from the department head for the shop foreman. If you remember, at the end of the fiscal year, beginning of the fiscal year in July, the Streets and Sanitation Department received 5% incentives for all Class A CD holders. After that time, we did look back. I believe the department head found that the shop foreman is required to have a Class A due to the fact that he would, in order to service the Class A vehicles and road test them and all that, he would need to have that. And so we would like to also include the shop foreman in that same incentive that we had in July, just to make it fair across the city. And the committee did recommend that. The cost of that would approximately be $1,981, and that does include benefits for the rest of the fiscal year.
Now, just how that's done, is that done by policy or changing a job description or?
The
where's that
job
document?
description was changed.
Okay.
So a shop foreman, newly hired, would have to have a CDL.
Yes.
That answer that question?
Yes.
And in this situation, the current shop foreman has a CDL.
Yes, he does.
Came to work here with a CDL.
Yes.
And he performs all the DOT inspections on our equipment.
Yes. Well, I think supervisors do help too, but I think he does
Vast
most of
majority.
it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I just want to generally say about these incentives, given the market that's out there, it's almost required to have incentives because you have so much competition that's out there, even here locally, about wage rates going up and incentives to leave. And this is, it's important to have experienced employees that are willing to work for us for the wage that we can pay. And that's a little bit of incentive to keep them from going elsewhere.
And there is a lot of competition for especially CDL holders right now with the new regulations from the federal government for the training requirements that went into effect. That's the reason for all of these new policies and these incentives, is we want to keep our employees here, our qualified employees, and hopefully this will help.
Any further questions for Mrs. Strecker or Mr. Eddington or anybody, gentlemen? See, I would entertain a motion on item 11, which would include sub-item A and sub-item B, as are set forth as amended and we've been discussing.
So moved.
Thank you. I have a motion from Councilman Patterson under item 11, sub-item A and B, as set forth in item 11 that was amended early on in this meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Deal. Is there any further discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, I'll call for vote. All those in favor of approving item number 11, policy handbook due policy, related to items A and B as set forth and discussed, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, that policy is approved. Next item on the agenda is approval of the bills from December 6th of '23 to December 19th of '23, and I would call on Mrs. Strecker.
Thank you again, Mayor and Council. Attached to your agenda were a list of bills. Also I handed out another set of bills for your consideration. I'd be glad to answer any questions at this time.
On page 7 of the first set of bills for Van Pelt fencing, were those two items a grant type thing?
Yes, we did get a Homeland Security grant for the high zone water tank. This is for a generator project, I believe.
Well, there's one for the generator, but the one for the fencing, is that a grant too? Is that
It's part of that grant, yes.
Okay.
I have a question on second set, page 4, for the state workforce department unemployment. I'm just curious if that number is true.
It's a very small amount. It was for a part-time ambulance person, and I really don't know how it was figured, but yes, it is true.
Okay. I'd love that rate. Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve the bills as presented.
I have a motion from Councilman Victorin under item number 12 to approve the bills as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Kelly. Gentlemen, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of the approval of the bills as set forth in item 12 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. All All right, the bills in item 12 as
Thank you.
presented are approved. Next item on the agenda is public comment, and I see Fire Chief Patch out there. And I just wanted you to, I let him explain it himself, but he sent me an excellent, comprehensive, and I thought a good report, so.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Evening.
So things that are going on for us right now, kind of day-to-day, calls have been down, which is a good thing. Weather coming in could change something. Obviously, again, that can change at any time. Last week, a year ago, we got a grant through YDOT for some radio equipment. That came in, and last week they installed 10 new radios in some of our vehicles. So that grant was about $51,000, I think, that YDOT paid for. So upgraded radios that were probably about 24 years old. So that was good. That was a nice grant to be able to get through the state. This week, next couple of days, we'll be taking Santa around to some of the elementary schools and daycares for the visit. I kind of talked about it last time, I think. We used to be able to do bags of candy and peanuts and whatnot, and now with food allergies in schools and stuff, you can't do that. So we've gone to buying a book that we give out to each child, and then a candy cane. Most of the educators really like the book part as opposed to candy, just because, some of the students don't have the opportunities to get a lot of books, so this helps them out. And then we put a sticker in it, or we stamp it for when the year was and that it came from the fire department. So it's something that they know where it came from. So I think that's pretty neat. Sitting back there, listening to Darren talk about vehicles, and I think Chief Johnson, Mr. Holly would attest, it's going to be very difficult and challenging. And part of the problem is you talk to the dealers to try to get pricing, they don't even know what their allotment for vehicles is going to be. You can talk to them and they'll tell you, well, we've got 10 trucks requested, we might get half of those, we might get a quarter, we might not get any, we won't know. So we even have some vehicles, we've got some that are 20 years old that we're starting to look at, trying to maybe get replaced, get pricing on and whatnot, so we have good information to present. But you talk to dealers and they can't give you good information like Darren says, because they don't even know. So it just makes it more and more difficult. And then a year and a half out, it just makes the process much more difficult than what it used to be. So that's about it, unless anybody has any questions.
I'm just curious I won't say that because there's kids listening to this radio, so never mind. It's about Santa Claus. I almost gave the secret
They
away.
should be in bed. It's 9 o'clock.
True that.
It's a school night.
I have no idea what you're talking about, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. All right, this is the time if council has any comments they would like to make, or if there's Mr. Hawley.
Mayor and council, just thought since the radio and the newspapers here, it'd be a good time to give my schedule for next week.
That's wonderful, thank you.
Monday
Talk
and
slowly.
Tuesday will be on Wednesday. Wednesday will be on Thursday. There'll be a third truck, so you may get picked up about an hour earlier than you normally do, so please get your dumpsters out.
And Ed, could you repeat that one more time?
Yes, I will. Monday and Tuesday will be picked up on Wednesday. Wednesday will be picked up on Thursday. And there'll be a third truck, so be about an hour early with picking up dumpsters.
So
And
anybody
Friday
who's-
will be normal, and next Monday, we will do on Tuesday with the third truck also.
Okay.
I assume, Ed, you'll repeat that for the following week as well.
Yes, on Monday. Mondays will be picked up on Tuesday along with the Tuesday route.
And you're an hour earlier on
They'll
that
be
one.
about an hour earlier because running the third truck speeds it up.
Well, I appreciate your coming forward and saying that, and I hope a lot of people are listening. That will also be published on the website and the
Have it
Text
published.
My Gov, right?
It's published already.
Yeah,
Okay.
It came out on
It'll
text
go out
message.
on the text too?
It did,
Did it?
this afternoon, I think.
All right, well, thank you, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
While we're speaking of dates, January 1st comes on a Monday. 2nd is Tuesday, supposed to be the first scheduled council meeting. Are we having it that night?
Yes, sir.
And in 1995, as a contractor, I worked with In Situ Form, and we did the alleys behind Main Street. So
In
so that's been in there
1994,
in 95.
95.
So it lasts.
That's, yeah, okay. Thank you, it's good to have institutional memory here. All right, thank you, Ed, I appreciate that information. Anybody else have a public comment, or councilman have any public comments? Mr.
I just
Deal?
want to reiterate what you said, Mr. Mayor, to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, Feliz Navidad y Prospero Año. Okay.
Whatever floats your boat. Yeah, and we will be back for a first council meeting in January on January 2nd.
I would echo that. I too would like to wish the city and its employees, its residents, its businesses a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
As would I.
I'd just like to say thank you. Just like to say thank you, whoever ramrodded the Christmas party this year. It's a pretty good deal. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. If there's no further public comment, we need to move into executive session.
Correct.
Mr. Mayor, I would move the council into executive session for the discussion of personnel.
Second?
I have a motion from Councilman Victorin to move us into executive session to discuss a personnel matter, and a second by Councilman Deal. Any discussion, gentlemen? All those in favor of moving into executive session signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed signify by saying nay. We will move into executive session.